The galaxy did not tremble yet. But it would. Deep within the highest tower of the Imperial Palace, Emperor Palpatine stood before a holomap of the Jedi Temple, its blue light painting his face like cold fire. His hood hid most of his features, but nothing could hide the hunger twisting his smile. "Lord Vader," he hissed. Vader stepped forward, massive, silent, a breathing machine shaped into a weapon. "The time approaches," Palpatine continued. "The Jedi grow complacent, guided by mercy, blinded by hope. You will lead the first strike." Vader bowed. "Yes, my master." "Every temple, every enclave," Palpatine whispered. "Extinguish their light, leave no survivors. The order ends tonight." A dozen red-armored guards knelt. Holoclones of commanders saluted. Ships moved in the darkness beyond the windows like sharks circling blood. Palpatine raised one skeletal hand, closing it slowly. "And let the galaxy fall quiet." Years later, Bryson's village. The galaxy had changed. But here life continued. Bryson knelt in the dirt, planting another row of herbs along the village's south ridge. His white lightsaber hung from his belt not as a weapon, but as a reminder to himself more than anyone else. Children ran past carrying buckets of water, laughing, unaware of the wars their elders had survived. Clanker beeped angrily at them, chasing the kids away from Bryson's freshly planted seeds. "Let them run," Bryson said with a tired smile. "Village feels more alive that way." A few yards away, Silver repaired a broken water pump, his sleeves rolled up, grease smudged across his face. The old Jedi-turned-wanderer grunted as he tightened the final bolt. "This thing breaks more than my back," he muttered. Clanker chirped a joke. Silver rolled his eyes. Yeah, I'm old, but I'm not that old." Behind them, Ethan worked with a group of young villagers, teaching them basic meditation and self-defense. Not Jedi training, just balance, calm, community. "Again," Ethan said softly, guiding a teenager through a stance. "Your center isn't in your feet, it's in your breath." The boys trembling steadied. Ethan smiled. "Good, remember that." Bryson watched the two men, his old master and his brother in all but blood. Peace had never lasted long for them, but this felt real. The wind was warm, the crops were growing. The village was full of people who believed in rebuilding instead of destroying. Silver wiped sweat from his forehead and walked over. "Well," he said, "if Palpatine could see us now, he'd probably die all over again from boredom." Bryson snorted. Ethan laughed. Clanker chirped in agreement. Together they stood at the village's edge, watching the sun rise. The galaxy was still dangerous. War still whispered across stars. Darkness still moved in hidden places. But here they lived. Not as soldiers. Not as fugitives. Not as legends. Just themselves. And for now, that was enough. The galaxy turned quietly now, too quietly for anyone who had lived through the roar of war. But silence was never permanent. It was a pause, a breath before history bent again. And though Palpatine had died decades earlier, his shadow lingered like a rot beneath floorboards, waiting for something to crawl out. But far from Coruscant, where skyscrapers scratched the polluted skies, life had retreated into warmth, dust, and honest labor. On a forgotten outer rim world, tucked between ridges of red stone and fields of pale green grain, Bryson's village breathed like a single living creature, growing, rebuilding, remembering. And inside this peace, three men who had forged themselves through flame tried to learn what it meant to be human again. Bryson woke before dawn, as he always did, not because he had to, no alarms, no comlink screaming orders, no explosions in the distance, but because old habits clung to him like scars. He sat on the edge of his bed in the small wooden house he'd built from salvaged Republic panels and local stone. The room smelled of old cloth, dirt, and the faint metallic tang of his white lightsaber hanging on the wall. He stared at that saber for a long moment. It had once been red. A symbol of another life. Another boy. Another chain. He inhaled slowly, pressed the memories back down, and stood. Today he had work, real work, soil, seeds, life that needed hands, not blades. When he stepped outside, the wind carried the smell of grain fields and wood fires. Villagers moved quietly across the waking settlement, carrying water, feeding animals, checking the irrigation lines. Real people with real worries: rain, blight, cold nights, broken tools. People who didn't fear Sith. People who didn't kneel to Jedi. People who had chosen Bryson not as a legend but as a neighbor. He still wasn't used to it. At the South Ridge, Bryson knelt and inspected the new herb rows. They'd sprouted early, maybe too early. He brushed a fingertip over the tender leaves, whispering a small hope that they would survive the coming heat. A small metal droid rolled up beside him, whistling impatiently. Clanker. Bryson smirked. Yeah, I'm checking, don't rush me. Clanker buzzed louder, projecting a tiny hologram of measurements: soil moisture too low, sunlight angle drifting. Bryson sighed. Fine, I'll fix it. He adjusted the irrigation stones, turning them slightly until the shadows aligned. Clanker whirred in satisfaction and bumped Bryson's leg with a metallic clunk. You're worse than Silver, Bryson muttered affectionately. And right on cue. Across the field, Silver knelt at the broken water pump, cursing in languages Bryson didn't recognize. The old Jedi, well, former Jedi, as he corrected anyone who asked, looked like he'd crawled out of a sandstorm and never stopped walking. His gray hair tied back, his beard stubborn, his clothes always smeared with grease, dust, or both. But his eyes, even at 57, they cut like a blade. He smacked the pump once with the heel of his hand. It hissed, it sputtered. And then it blasted a fountain of water straight into his face. Bryson snorted, need help. Silver stood drenched, hair plastered to his skull, water dripping from his nose. He didn't blink. No, Silver deadpanned. It was a tactical decision to let it attack first. Clanker chirped a laughing tone. Don't you dare, Silver warned the droid. Bryson took a seat on a nearby crate. Pump works now. Silver wiped his face. So do I eventually. Near the village's center, Ethan stood in front of 6 young villagers, teenagers and early adults, some holding wooden staffs, others wearing training gloves. Ethan had grown into himself over the years. Where he once carried the restless energy of an apprentice, he now stood grounded, shoulders broad, voice steady. Again, Ethan said, guiding one girl's stance, your center is here, not in your arms. She adjusted, wobbling slightly. Ethan steadied her with a gentle hand on her back. Better don't force it, let yourself breathe. The girl exhaled shakily, the stance settled. Ethan smiled, good, that's balance. As Bryson approached, the students straightened, offering nervous greetings. Ethan rolled his eyes. You don't have to treat him like a general, he told them, he's just a farmer. Bryson raised a brow, just. Clanker chirped, just a farmer with a Force signature that made Jedi Masters nervous. Bryson flicked the droid's dome, traitor. Ethan laughed and the students relaxed. They weren't training to become Jedi, not under Ethan, not under anyone. They were learning discipline, breathwork, and how to defend themselves without falling into fear. In a galaxy where peace was always temporary, it was enough. Later, the 3 of them gathered at the long table outside Bryson's house. Villagers passed by, greeting them with waves or small nods. A few children whispered that Silver looked like a grumpy tree. Silver pretended not to hear. The meal was simple: roasted roots, dried fruit, boiled grain, and one surviving bottle of off-world ale split between them. Ethan leaned back. Feels strange, doesn't it? What? Bryson asked. This, waking up without expecting a fight. Silver snorted, speak for yourself, that pump tried to kill me. Bryson smiled faintly, but there was heaviness in his gaze. Peace had weight too. Silver noticed, he always did. You thinking again? Silver asked quietly. Bryson shrugged, just remembering. Ethan's expression softened, you're not that boy anymore. Maybe not, Bryson said, but he's still here somewhere. Silver tapped the table, good, he's part of you doesn't mean he controls you. The wind rustled through the fields. Bryson looked out across the village he'd built, a place of life, laughter, arguments, and hope, a place he never expected to have. Maybe peace wasn't a battlefield. Maybe it was a choice. But far beyond their quiet world, beyond the outer rim, beyond even the space lanes choked with Imperial wreckage and forgotten wars. Another shadow stared into the dark. Hidden deep within the old remains of the Emperor's archives, a flicker of Palpatine's ancient contingency stirred, something long buried, something patient, something hungry. Echoes of Vader's armor clattered in isolated corridors, warnings left by a past that refused to stay dead. And somewhere in the distant void, a Sith presence awakened, not yet seen, not yet named, but listening. Waiting for cracks. For weakness. For peace to become fertilizer for war. Back in the village, Bryson rose from the table, stretching his back. Time to get the new rafters up, he said. Ethan stood too, I'll help. Silver waved them off, go, I've got patrol duty. Bryson raised a brow, you hate patrol duty. Yes, Silver said, but I hate raiders touching my new pump more. Clanker beeped a snarky remark. Yes, I am getting grumpy, Silver shot back, it's my right. Bryson shook his head, don't scare the travelers. No promises. They split up, Bryson toward the construction yard, Ethan toward the training grounds, Silver into the forest path with Clanker at his side. The sun climbed. The village breathed. And for now. For this moment. The past stayed buried, the future stayed distant, and the present felt almost like freedom. The village settled into evening rhythm, children finishing chores, smoke curling from chimneys, tools being hung on walls. But Bryson, Silver, and Ethan weren't done with the day just yet. Bryson tightened the strap across his shoulder, securing a salvager's pack. Clanker says he scanned something north of the ridge, big metal signature, buried deep. Silver lifted an eyebrow, what kind of metal? Clanker projected the scan, jagged outlines, cracked plating, a heat signature long dead but unmistakable. A Sith vessel. Ethan crossed his arms, let me guess, we're going to investigate. Silver smirked, we're not just investigating, we're looting it. Bryson shrugged, village needs parts, if the Sith aren't using it anymore, why waste good scrap? Ethan sighed, but the smile tugging at the corner of his mouth betrayed him. Fine, but if it starts screaming old Sith chants or tries to eat us, I'm blaming all of you. Clanker beeped excitedly, finally, something more fun than fixing irrigation lines. The three men trekked north into the wild stretch of red sand and cracked stone. The wind picked up as they walked, carrying the smell of iron and ancient ash. Vegetation thinned, even the insects seemed to avoid this place. Silver walked with his hood up, hands resting loosely near his belt. This area wasn't on any of the old star charts. That's because nobody sane comes out here, Ethan muttered. Bryson smirked, so naturally we do. Clanker rolled ahead, chirping like a scout sniffing out treasure. After half an hour, the droid finally stopped at the edge of a deep sinkhole. Bryson peered down. Black metal protruded from the sand like the ribcage of a dead beast. Burned plating, scored engines, a hull cracked open from the inside out. A Sith ship. One that had died violently. Silver grinned, oh, this is going to be fun. The three climbed down on ropes, Clanker lowering himself by magnetizing to the metal ribs. As soon as Bryson's boots hit the hull, the air grew colder. The force felt thick, heavy, not hostile, just old. Ethan stepped beside him. Feels like the last argument the ship ever heard is still echoing through it. Silver tapped the hull with his knuckles. Probably some Sith apprentice blew up the engine room trying to impress a master. Clanker beeped, that is 73% likely. Bryson chuckled, let's find the access hatch. They circled the wreck until they found a half-buried door. Bryson pulled, the rusted metal groaning, then snapping open. Dark air spilled out, smelling of burnt ozone and dried blood. Silver drew his golden saber, unlit but ready. Let's see what secrets you're hiding. Their lights cut thin beams through the darkness. The interior was a ruin, shattered consoles, wires hanging like vines, old blaster marks scorched into the walls. Sith glyphs ran along the corridor, warnings or curses or both. Ethan brushed a finger across one glyph. This writing's at least 3 centuries old. Meaning? Bryson asked. Silver grinned, meaning whatever killed this ship probably isn't around anymore, so grab anything valuable. Bryson cracked open a supply panel. Inside were ancient metal bars good for reforging tools and a half-working power cell. This'll help with the village grid. Ethan laughed, we came to loot a Sith tomb for farming equipment. If Palpatine were alive, he'd scream. Silver shrugged, he screamed plenty already. Clanker led them deeper into the ship, stopping at a massive door sealed by a triangular lock. The droid chirped, projecting a layout of inner compartments. Ethan blinked, that's the armory. Silver cracked his knuckles, oh ho, jackpot. Bryson placed both hands on the old Sith lock. He didn't use force aggression, just steady pressure, feeling the ancient mechanism like an old wound. With a final grinding shriek, the door slid open. Inside, the room was filled with dust-coated racks of broken weapons, melted blades, and shattered armor. But even in ruin, there was treasure. Purified durasteel rods, old Sith holsters, a half-functioning shield emitter, and a crate of rare alloys untouched. Silver whistled, "We could rebuild half the village defenses with this." Ethan frowned, "Should we be taking Sith materials?" Bryson shrugged, "Metal's metal, evil doesn't stick to alloy." Clanker beeped to agree. They filled their packs, careful, respectful, but not afraid. The past couldn't hurt them unless they let it. Before leaving, they explored one last room, a fractured command hall. At its center sat a throne of jagged obsidian, cracked in half by the crash. Silver stared at it, quiet. This one led battles, killed worlds, and now he's dust. Ethan placed a hand on the broken armrest. That's all power ever becomes. Bryson stood behind them, feeling something strange, not darkness but a hollow weight, a reminder, a warning. He touched his white saber. "I'm not him," Bryson whispered, "never again." Ethan and Silver looked at him, but not with fear, with certainty. "We know," Ethan said. "Let's get home," Silver added. Clanker chirped impatiently, loot collected, adventure complete. They climbed back into the daylight with packs full and hearts lighter than expected. Even buried Sith relics couldn't drag them back into the shadows. Not anymore. Not together.